If you need a running back, go get Trey Benson. If your opponent needs a running back, go get Trey Benson. If you have so many riches and your kicker is not Brandon Aubrey, drop your kicker, go get Trey Benson, make a trade, pick up a kicker before the week starts. That is what you need to do. Never know. Okay, top trending players of the week. Pickups, drops over on Sleeper Fantasy, and then we'll talk about our waiver wire. I haven't done my rankings yet. I don't usually do these waiver wire rankings on Fantasy Pros, but maybe I'll talk through it a little bit live. Maybe that's a good way to do our ad drop going forward. Just thought about that early this morning. So we'll get to that in a second. Let's start talking about the top 10 trending players on Sleeper Fantasy. Picked up in over almost 1 million leagues is Trey Tucker. Owned in 6% of leagues. Obviously, he had a huge game. I do like Trey Tucker. He's someone who I traded away in Dynasty. I think I have him in the other Dynasty league potentially. But this is a guy I like a lot. He's very clearly operating as a wide receiver 2 in Vegas. But I mean, come on. He had a hat trick. He went crazy. 145 yards and 3 touchdowns. That is not going to happen ever again. We just saw his best game of his career. But I do think, I don't know if his targets are necessarily a fluke. 20 targets through 3 weeks. I don't know if that's necessarily a fluke. So I do think you can go pick up Trey Tucker and have a decent player. He plays the Bears, the Colts, the Titans, the Chiefs. I don't hate that. I don't hate that round up there. And then Jags, Broncos, Dallas, Cleveland, Chargers, Broncos. Fantasy playoffs of the Eagles, Texans, and Giants. I don't hate that. So the fact that Trey Tucker is the number 1 most trending player is obvious. Is because if anyone scores 3 touchdowns, you're going to go pick him up. I wouldn't break the bank for him, but I do like him. I don't think his production so far is necessarily a fluke. Number 2, Trey Benson. Unfortunately, James Conner ruled out for the rest of the season with that season-ending ankle surgery. Trey Benson now takes over the backfield. I think Trey Benson's a stud. A big fan of him. I have him in one Dynasty league. I want him in the other Dynasty league. I have James Conner in one Dynasty league without Trey Benson. Not a good move. But, I mean, if you've been listening to us, it's not a bold take for this year. I was very high on Trey Benson last year. Didn't necessarily come to fruition. Just 1 year a little bit too early. This year, a lot of people were talking about him. If you had James Conner in like a redraft league, hopefully you drafted Trey Benson, certainly being the drum on that. But right now, there's no pressure in the backfield. D. Mercado, I believe, is the only other guy, really. They got Bam Knight there, I guess. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be Trey Benson's backfield. Now, do I think they make a move at running back? I think yes, almost definitely yes. Is it Jamal Williams? Do they trade for somebody like Jerome Ford? Does Leonard Fournette finally find a team willing to take him? Who knows, right? Maybe Gus Edwards. Chargers are certainly looking for a running back as well. We'll get to that in a second. Gus Edwards probably going back there. Maybe Ezekiel Elliott does something. Who knows, right? But Trey Benson is going to be the lead back in this backfield. I like him quite a bit. If he is available in any league, he is most likely your priority pickup this week. Absolute stud. Tyquan Thornton, I'm a little hesitant here, but boy, did he look good. He had 5 for 71 and a touchdown. Obviously had that other big drop or big play that was dropped. Followed it up with a big play. Insane contested catch downfield. Tyquan Thornton looks like the player that the Patriots drafted that they wanted him to be. And then it just didn't work out in New England for one reason or another. Didn't really develop, didn't really get the playing time. But he looks really good right now. I think Xavier Worthy comes back next week, so that throws a wrench into things. Then a few weeks after that, Rashee Rice comes back. So I do think Thornton's going to be relegated to just a deep threat role. He's going to be a better real life piece for this Chiefs offense than a fantasy piece. But next week he's got the Ravens. I think he can still be relevant with Xavier Worthy back. Ravens, Jags, Lions, Raiders. Like, I don't mind picking him up. Again, I'm certainly not breaking the bank for him. But he's a good player, so I'm interested. Adam Troutman took over potentially. We thought he would take over at tight end with Evan Engram out. Don't pick up Adam Troutman. Fully ignore that. Turns out if you remove Evan Engram from the offense, nothing happens. So maybe that tells us a little bit about Evan Engram, right? Caleb Williams looked good. He played a Dallas defense that just gave up 450 yards to Russell Wilson, so certainly take it with a grain of salt. But, I mean, hey, 298, 4 touchdowns, ran a little bit. His throws had zip on it. They were on time. They looked really good. If the confidence is growing, if the offense is finally finding its rhythm, I mean, there's no shortage of weapons on this Bears offense. So, Caleb Williams, if you drafted Joe Burrow, if you have Jaden Daniels and you're a little nervous, if you drafted Matthew Stafford late and you were relying on him and thinking he was going to be the ultimate steal, whatever it may be, if he's available in your league, 71% owned on Sleeper, I assume that number is less on ESPN. But go pick him up. He's got who this week? He's got the Raiders. So I'm not necessarily afraid of the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders are a pushover like they were in recent years. But not afraid. The only bad thing here is you're picking him up for the Raiders, and then he has a bye, which I don't love. But still, target him. Sterling Shepard, obviously he had that big play at the end. He looked pretty good. If Mike Evans plays this week, if Chris Godwin plays this week, if he turns into the wide receiver 4 on this offense, not valuable. However, if Mike Evans is out, if Chris Godwin's not ready to play a full workload, then all of a sudden Sterling Shepard has a little bit of a role, but still, I'm not looking to pick him up. Don't really care. Ken Walker being the 7th most picked up player kind of surprises me. Decent player, lost work this week, though. He was operating kind of as that lead back. Aaron Rodgers, Mike Tomlin, everybody in Pittsburgh, beating the Jalen Warren drum, which means Ken Walker moves down the totem pole a little bit. No need to own him other than as a Jalen Warren handcuff. Mariota filled in for Jane Daniels and had a nice fantasy day thanks to his 40 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Played fine, played pretty well. Whatever. If you have any wonder if the NFL is rigged, we will find out this week, because could Mariota get a revenge game in Atlanta? If the NFL is rigged, the answer is yes. If the NFL is not rigged, then Jaden Daniels will be healthy enough to play. So that will be that. Kyle Monangai, really strong runner. He's not overly athletic. He hasn't been efficient yet, but I do think his snaps will continue to grow, especially if DeAndre Swift continues to stack up little dents and bruises and stuff like that. So Kyle Monangai, if you are a DeAndre Swift owner, if you are thin at running back, certainly look to him as a future ad or a speculative ad. Same sort of thing with Miles Sanders with a handcuff to Javonte Williams. He played well this week, 9 carries, 41 yards, 3 catches. He's a Javonte Williams handcuff. That kind of is what he is. But if you have Javonte Williams, who is an absolute stud, like I told you he would be with this Dallas offensive line and offense overall, then you probably want to back him up. And now quickly, just players who are getting dropped. Najee Harris out for season, torn Achilles. That stinks. It sucks. Or stucks, if you want to combine the words like I just did. Dylan Sampson, like I said, played 5 snaps, I do believe it was. I think better days ahead. But if you're in a redraft league, you don't need to own Dylan Sampson. Hopefully you found that nice, beautiful little window where you traded him and he was valuable. That would have been incredible. But if not, and you have an empty roster spot, I mean, hold on to him. But he's not a must drop, but he's certainly not a must keep. Evan Engram, boy, I do agree. He is droppable. Jake Browning, I mean, he's going to be good. If you looked at my rankings, he wasn't going to be good this week. Who's he got next week? Denver. Okay. Yeah, fine. You can drop Jake Browning. Ramondre had a great opportunity and literally fumbled it away 2 different times. So I do think he's not phased out of the offense. I think he's too good for that. Plus, it's his only fumble so far this year, but this cannot become a pattern. I would not be dropping Ramondre Stevenson. That's a stupid thing to do, but you know, it's interesting. Detroit defense dropped. Interesting. I guess because they had him for the Bears and then are dropping him for the Raiders or Ravens rather. Makes sense. Romeo Dobbs dropped. He should never have been that owned. Packers are just going to spread the ball around. He's probably the most valuable receiver there, but not worth it. Jordan Love's not very good, and they are going to spread the ball around. Marvin Mims is no longer the wide receiver 2. He's very clearly the wide receiver 3. Probably doesn't need to be owned. Jaden Blue, I think, has a lot of upside, but that upside is not going to be realized for a while. And then Jerry Jeudy, like I said, by far ran the most routes. He is going to be much better. Do not drop Jerry Jeudy if you don't have to. Please. That feels like a dumb thing to do. Okay, we got some questions. Obviously, I do my rankings on Fantasy Pros. Top 10 expert in draft and in season. Top 5 for running back, top 5 for wide receivers. No biggie last year. But I never do these waiver wire rankings, so I figured this would be a good way to talk about ad drop. And it looks like once this own loads. So this roster percentage is consensus from Yahoo and ESPN, which is good. Sleeper, almost definitely, if it's a good player, sleeper is going to be higher because the sharps, if you want to consider them that for fantasy football, the diehards, the people most dialed in, are on sleeper versus ESPN. ESPN's a little more casual. So we will factor that in, think about that a little bit. But overall, the majority of people play on these two sites, on Yahoo and ESPN. So I think this is good. If you have any questions, certainly keep asking. I'll try to remember to flip back and forth so I can look. But, okay. Quarterback. Maybe you had Browning. Maybe, again, Browning bad this past week against the Vikings. Blitz heavy scheme. Now they play the Broncos. Not comfortable there. Who are you going for at quarterback? Looking at this, not a guarantee Mariota plays, but Mariota against Atlanta is interesting. I like Jackson Dart's number 5. Jackson Dart, I don't think is going to play this week, but it does feel like his time is coming. Let's take a look at their schedule. Ooh, maybe it's not. I can't imagine Jackson Dart is the starter until week 10 at the soonest, right? And it could be week 15 after the bye, but like maybe you put him in against the Saints, but if that doesn't go well, then all of a sudden you're staring down Eagles, Broncos, Eagles, Niners, which is not what you want to do for a young quarterback's development. Let Russell Wilson be in there and take those hits. So I don't think you need to be adding Jackson Dart. Okay, looking at the rest of these, I'm not a Tua guy. Monday Night Football, primetime spot for Tua probably means he gets his head smashed in. Stafford right now by default's number 1. I think Geno might be the number 1 fantasy quarterback right now for amongst these waiver ads. I don't hate Darnold. He plays on Thursday, which means they're probably going to be more run heavy. Tua has not been good. I do respect the Jets defense at least a little bit, so I wouldn't go there. Wentz against Pittsburgh, I'm not afraid of. Going overseas kind of stinks, though. Just a lot of variables. But yeah, I think, and then Stafford's fine. He's going up against the Colts, which is his easiest matchup so far, I would think. Texans, Titans, Eagles. I mean, Titans aren't terribly tough, but they're not bad. I think this might be the easiest defense he's faced so far. So yeah, if you're picking up a quarterback here, I think it's Geno against the Bears. Probably Stafford too. Potentially, I mean, we gotta see, but potentially Mariota 3, potentially Wentz 4. There's going to be people dropping decent quarterbacks as well, though, so you're probably not crazy in need of a quarterback. If you are, definitely ask questions, but I think you're probably fine. Okay. Running back, Trey Benson, number 1 waiver ad. Don't even need to think about it. He's the number one priority add this week if he's out there whatsoever. Plain and simple. After that, Tajay Spears is expected back, I think, week 5. And again, he's not going to take the job from Tony Pollard for sure. Like, that's for sure not going to happen. But that should be a split backfield as long as Spears is healthy. And how long will Spears be healthy for? I mean, probably not very long. But if he is, he's a decent player. He's definitely a nice little change of pace. Algier is fully a handcuff. He is not used really whatsoever unless the Falcons have the lead, potentially on the goal line, and then if Bijan Robinson gets hurt. So he might be a little bit lower. Ollie Gordon's a nice little handcuff getting work. Blake Corum's a nice little handcuff starting to get work. Woody Marks is interesting to me. What's their schedule? Because he played about half the snaps this week. He plays a little bit more in passing down situations. Titans, Ravens, bye. Seahawks, Niners, Broncos, Jags. I mean, I think I would put Woody Marks up here. I'm not picking him up to start him right away, but if you're saying one of these players becomes fantasy relevant without an injury, I think it's Woody Marks. Braylon Allen got some work this week. He got work receiving the ball as well, ran a bunch of routes. So I do like him, but I just don't think this Jets offense is good enough to necessarily warrant him being a pickup. He's not a must-own handcuff to me. He's still a decent handcuff, but not a must-own. Kyle Monangai is rising the ranks a little bit, earning more snaps, but again, not a ton. And he's not overly great. I think he's fine. I think he's a strong runner, more of a plotter, but no need there. Chris Rodriguez got a bunch of work. Jeremy McNichols, I think, is an absolute stud. I think you can't really give him the majority of the carries or snaps or anything, but, you know, you saw what he can do. He can break a big run whenever. And then if Washington's trailing at all, he is going to play that receiving back role. So I do like Jeremy McNichols. Again, if we're talking about picking up somebody who's not just a handcuff, who has value without another injury happening, I think Jeremy McNichols is on that list. Honestly, I'm trying to think of how I would order this. Like, I think I would go Blake Corum above Algier. Spears probably there. Ollie Gordon probably there since we've already seen A-Chain a little bit banged up. Then, how many carries did Rodriguez get? I know the snaps were about even with Merritt. I mean, he was fine. He was fine. I don't think he's necessarily any worse than Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. So, I don't know. I'd probably keep it like this, to be honest. I think this is fair. But yeah, Trey Benson is the number one pickup this week. If you need a running back, if you don't need a running back, if you want to block somebody from getting a running back, it says he's owned in 52% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. So definitely go check that. Curious. On Sleeper, he's owned in 60. So yeah, go check if Trey Benson's out there. Good Lord. Go get him, please. Wide receivers. Okay. I'm a big Darnell Mooney guy. Played a bunch of snaps. Played the most snaps. Ran the most routes for Atlanta. Did not mean anything, obviously. But I am a big Mooney guy. I like Troy Franklin. I think he is playing well. Kayshon Boutte continues to run the most routes, play the most snaps for the Patriots, and the targets aren't just they're just not going his way. So very concerned there, I guess. Let's put Trey Tucker. Is he number 1? Trey Tucker's at least up here. You know, honestly, maybe Trey Tucker is number 1. I'll go Trey Tucker there, Troy Franklin there, Darnell Mooney 3. Just because if I'm starting these players this next week, I don't know if I'm starting Trey Franklin yet. I think I might start Mooney over him, but I do think Trey Tucker is number one there. Okay, what else do we got? Burden is starting to see his role grow a little bit, if that's the case. Very talented. I know what Christian Kirk is. I'm not overly impressed. I know what Romeo Dobbs is. I'm not overly impressed. Ao Manor is a good player. He scored another touchdown. And that passing offense can only get better, which means Ao Manor can only get better. Kelvin Austin's a fine bye week fill-in. He's very clearly the wide receiver 2 with no wide receiver 3 in sight. They run a lot of tight ends there. I think he's solid. So we'll put him there. Coker's coming back, but he's going to be splitting some snaps, I think. He's higher than Booty for me, though. Isaac Tesla, he needs to get more snaps, but he's a great player. He'll be below that. Turpin could be decent just because of the CeeDee Lamb injury. Otherwise, I don't think he's going to be that big of a producer on offense. I think he'll steadily get a couple touches, but overall upside, I think, is low. Torrey Horton, I think, is an absolute stud. Let's put Torrey Horton at 8. Potentially higher. If you get points for return yardage, I mean, he's certainly 8 this week, and I don't know if that's going to happen again. But he's a very, very good football player. If you get points for return yardage, he should be higher. But yeah, 8 right now, I think, is fair. Wicks is going to be on the field as long as Christian Watson and Jaden Reed is out. Obviously, Reed's out for quite a while. Watson maybe is a month away. But as with every Packers receiver, I don't think their numbers are going to be consistent whatsoever. That's because of the offense, how that functions, and it's also because of Jordan Love not being a good player. Tyquan Thornton, I think, is higher than these guys. Let's put him at 9 for now. Tyquan Thornton, again, I think he's been really impressive. I think he had an outstanding game last night. Xavier Worthy comes back next week, almost definitely. Rashee Rice comes back a few weeks after that. So I think he's going to be relegated to just being a deep threat guy, a better weapon for the Chiefs offense than for fantasy football. But for now, I think he's solid. Honestly, I mean, if you're just grading the next couple of weeks, he might be like there. Yeah, let's put him there. Jalen Tolbert, if CeeDee Lamb misses any time, he'll be decent. But we've seen him with a big role before, and he just didn't really do anything with it. I think he's above Turpin just because, like, rest of season, Turpin's better. If CeeDee Lamb misses time, I like Turpin, or I like Tolbert more. And then Parker Washington, Brown went out. Daimi Brown left the game, and Parker Washington became that every down receiver, and he played so well. 11 targets, I believe. 11 targets. And we saw him start to do this a little bit at the end of last year. If he is on the field, Trevor Lawrence likes throwing him the ball. The role in the offense that he takes over, the ball will go his direction. So if Daimi Brown misses time, Parker Washington could be potentially up to like here. At the moment, I'll put him here, I think. I need to know more about that Daimi Brown injury. So yeah, I'll do that. I'll keep it like this. So these are my wide receivers: Trey Tucker, Troy Franklin, Darnell Mooney, Luther Burden, Alik, Ao Manor is where I am going in terms of my wide receiver rankings there for the waiver wire. Let's do tight ends quick. I can't imagine there's much. Okay, Harold Fannin again. He ran the 5th most routes on the team, which was about half of them. I don't love that, but in terms of these tight ends, I mean, is what it is. We're not working with a ton of great players here. Brenton Strange and Okonkwo, I think, are both decent, and they're going to play a lot of snaps. I think I would order it like this. Interchangeable, though. If you have a preference, I mean, pick your poison. But I don't hate that. Cade Otton is so uninteresting right now. The only reason he would be decent next week, really, in my opinion, is that, or if I would have any confidence in him, I guess, is if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are both out, then fine. Otherwise, don't care. Dalton Schultz, I don't really care. Isaiah Likely should be back next week. Should. I don't think his role will be necessarily consistent, but I like the potential more than Otten and Schultz. Mason Taylor played a bunch of snaps this week with them dropping back and throwing the football. I don't know how long that lasts. I think Justin Fields probably is back this week. But he's a decent player. I mean, his role should grow. I think I would keep him here. His potential's up here, right? But because of the quarterback play, because of the offense, I think I'll keep him here. Jatavian Sanders, they didn't have to throw the football this past week because they were up by so much. I don't think that is going to be the case very often. So he's going to be up there. Theo Johnson is what he is. Cole Kmet is what he is, which is better than Colston Loveland. But I don't have supreme confidence. He might be there, though. How many targets did Dalton Schultz get? 6. So 5, 4, and 6. Schultz is probably here. And I'll go Taylor just because of the upside, right? I don't think Cole Kmet gets a bigger role at any point. But Mason Taylor's role should continue to grow. So I will do that. If you have any final questions, certainly ask, please, because we are coming to the end of the show here. Defenses for this week. If you're picking up a defense to stream, love the Chargers, so that makes sense. Niners against the Jags. Niners, no Nick Bosa, sounds like, which stinks. Jets against Miami, Rams against the Colts, Patriots against the Panthers. I think I would go. What do the Niners get this week? 1 sack. It's against Kyler Murray, but still. I may put the Patriots like there. Yeah, I think I would do that. I don't have supreme confidence in the Niners. The only defense I'm really paying up for here is the Chargers against the Giants. I think they will have a decent game there. But overall, there's probably better options than these guys anyways. And then kickers, I mean, what are we looking at here? Prater against the Saints. Maybe they get stopped in the red zone. Gay against, I do like Matt Gay against Falcons. I do like Schrader against the Rams because I think the Colts can move the ball, but I could see them petering out in the red zone. Cardi against the Colts, maybe. Myers against the Cardinals. That's probably a decent bet on Thursday Night Football. Honestly, I think I would do that. I'm not a big Jason Myers guy, but I do think they will struggle in the red zone against a physical Arizona team. So, yeah. I'm not overall, I guess if we're going overall, I don't know if people look at it this way. Trey Benson's for sure the number 1 overall ad. Without a doubt, you don't even need to think about it. If you are looking for a player to start this week in your flex or wide receiver, I do think Trey Tucker's probably number 2. Chargers defense, hard to argue. If you need a defense this week, that's the one you're picking up. Woody Marks is still more of a pickup in weight. But I do like picking him up. I do think he probably should be owned. Troy Franklin should be higher. Troy Franklin probably should be like there. Yeah. Yeah, if you're picking up a quarterback, I think you should pick up Geno. That's my opinion. And then these running backs are kind of all grouped. So I think this is fair. Harold Fannin should be higher. Harold Fannin should be like that. So I would look at the top 10, 11 here. This is what I feel. I'm not really ordering the rest of these. Maybe Mooney should be like, I don't know, there. But yeah, these are the top pickups this week. Definitely go and steal Trey Benson if you can. If you need a running back, go get Trey Benson. If your opponent needs a running back, go get Trey Benson. If you have so many riches and your kicker is not Brandon Aubrey, drop your kicker, go get Trey Benson, make a trade, pick up a kicker before the week starts. That is what you need to do. Please. Trey Benson should be the pickup no matter if you need to start him this week or not, because somebody needs to start him and you could get a nice, pretty penny for that. But that's all I got for today.